vinyl community? Welcome to another video with the Record Spinner. Happy Record Store Day, you guys. And because today is Record Store Day, in today's video, I'm going to be showcasing my vinyl haul from this year's Record Store Day in 2022. But real quick, before we get into the haul, I figured I would touch base on, I guess, what my initial thoughts were of the list this year for Record Store Day, since I didn't really comment too much on it in a previous video. And to be honest with you, when it comes down to Record Store Day and the list and what the anticipated titles are, I kind of see it as more of the same in some respects, in the sense that we all know that there's going to be a Doors release. There is going to be a Grateful Dead release. There will be a Ramones release. The Bowie estate will put out something from the Prince estate. There's certain marks that we know that are definite, is going to happen type of releases. But of course, there's always going to be those few select releases that are a bit niche and novelty-esque that we know are perhaps going to sell out rather quick or have the most general appeal. So when it comes to like Record Store Day lists that drop each year, I kind of know what to expect, but also to keep my eye out for something, I guess, a bit more, sort of suspecting of sorts in terms of what is going to really pique the public's interests. But regardless of the list and whatnot, obviously there were things that I wanted, and I can gladly say I got everything that I wanted, plus more, and you are going to see what I got in this year's haul, because I think I covered a lot of ground in terms of the stuff that I generally get each year from the certain acts that participate in Record Store Day, but I also picked up a lot of cool, interesting, unique bits that I have not seen myself pick up in years prior. So I think this is the most diverse Record Store Day that I have partook in terms of getting things for my collection. So we have a nice hefty haul right here, as you can see. So enough of the chit chat, let's jump into what this video is all about. And I'm going to be starting off kind of with like the main standards in terms of the stuff that I knew that I was going to get, and then as we progress further, we'll dig into some of the interesting territory that I initially did not see myself getting initially. So I'm going to be starting off with the most anticipated release for this year's Record Store Day, and that is the Ramones, the Sire albums, 1981 to 1989. This was the single release that I was the most excited for, and that is simply because the Ramones catalog from the 1980s, aside from Brain Drain, has never seen a vinyl reissue campaign. And in my eyes, the Ramones are the godfathers of punk. They are the one punk band that matters, and their catalog is worthy of having on vinyl again, since original pressings of some of these albums do fetch high price tags, and I've always wanted a reissue campaign for the albums that are featured in this box set, and now that is finally here. So this set here is limited to 10,000 copies. It is indeed a Record Store Day exclusive release, and it is also numbered as well. I have copy number 5,391. And just to break through all of the albums that are featured in this set, we do have Pleasant Dreams, Subterranean Jungle, Too Tough to Die, Animal Boy, Halfway to Sanity, as well as Brain Drain. And of course, to add some appeal to this box set, we also have this exclusive piece, which is called Still More Stuff, Rarities 1981 to 1989. This features a lot of various non-album singles, B-sides, other tracks that were recorded during the sessions for given albums, as well as some various remixes on some things. So it is overall a very cool piece to have, and there's a lot of the sort of, UK exclusive B-sides that have never been released properly in the US, such as Go Home Ann and Life Goes On from the sort of Animal Boy, Halfway to Sanity era. It's all stuff that I absolutely love. And then you also get a 1981 version of Touring and I Can't Get You Out of My Mind from the Pleasant Dreams era, which were released as bonus tracks on the CD remaster from the early 2000s, so it covers a lot of ground overall, and I suspect that if they were to reissue these albums separately, this exclusive piece is going to remain exclusive within the box set. And inside the jacket, there is a sticker sheet, which features stickers of all of the various Ramones logos as they appeared on each album. And this piece comes pressed on clear vinyl with black and pink splatter, which is absolutely phenomenal. These are all pressed absolutely beautifully, mastered by Joe Nino Hernes at Sterling Sound, so I suspect that this is going to be a beautiful sounding box set. The Ramones stuff always does sound great in terms of the modern reissues and remasters and such, so very happy to see this box set come out for Record Store Day. It is hands down the most anticipated release, at least for me. And then we, of course, know that there's always going to be a Bowie type release, or releases in some cases like this one. And we have the Brilliant Adventure EP as well as the Toy EP. So these are the two main releases that the Bowie estate has released in terms of lavish box sets or just releases in general. The Brilliant Adventure box set was the next in the Era box set series, which covers 1992 to 2001. And this EP simply features a couple of various, recordings from that time frame. There is an early version of I'm Not Afraid of Americans, which is on the Earthling album. I Have Not Been to Oxford Town, which is an alternative single mix, which is from the Outside album. And then we have some live versions of A Small Plot of Land and My Death. So it's just a simple 4-track EP, which uses the same artwork from the box set, but it acts as a sort of supplementary piece to the box set itself. Printed inner sleeve here. Cool picture of Bowie. All the credits on this side. And here is the vinyl itself with a sort of custom ISO label there, which is pretty nice. I'm sure you guys can see that focus. There you go. So that is for the Brilliant Adventure EP. And then moving on to the Toy EP. Now, of course, Toy is the infamous unreleased Bowie album that Bowie had basically planned to release around 2001, 2002, but instead it was scrapped, and then Earthling came out instead, and it went unreleased for a while. It's been heavily bootlegged for a number of years, and they finally released it with this rather interesting artwork, which I think is probably one of the worst album covers of all time, but Bowie did make it, so I guess you have to give it props where it's due. But with this EP, because they released it as part of the Brilliant Adventure box set, and they also did a separate release as well with various alternative mixes and extra tracks, this EP brings together various radio edits, vocal and piano mixes, alternative endings, as well as BBC radio sessions and live versions. So once again, like the Brilliant Adventure EP, this simply acts as a sort of companion piece to the Toy box set that has been released, which I have showcased on the channel before in one of my monthly vinyl hauls. Custom printed ISO records label, and this is pressed on 10-inch black vinyl. And there's the label right there. Nice contrast as well. There's like the sort of minty green label here, and then the black label on this side. So very happy to see some Bowie releases once again for Record Store Day. These are both RSD exclusive releases, but the quantities are indeed unknown, so God knows how many copies exist. Probably a lot, since Bowie is a very high-in-demand type of artist, but who really knows? Next artist, of course, that I knew was getting a release this year, and I kind of saw this coming based on their release schedule in terms of what has come out recently. It is The Doors, LA Woman Sessions. This is a 4-LP box set which brings together various alternate takes and outtakes from the LA Woman Sessions. These recordings have been released officially as part of the 50th anniversary LA Woman box set, which comes with CDs and vinyl done in like a hard book, kind of book style type of design, like the other Doors albums that have received a anniversary treatment release in the past couple of years. But instead, of course, they did it on, in a vinyl configuration, and it's nice to have it all here. Some notable highlights on here is the Sunset Sound version of Riders on the Storm. That is a real treat. That is the infamous version that producer Paul Rothchild deemed as cocktail jazz. That's a rather infamous story in Doors lore. And we just basically have a bunch of different takes of songs as they kind of progress through the album sessions. So, you know, things like the Changeling, Lover Madly, Baby Please Don't Go, which is a cool outtake, She Smells So Nice, and Rock Me Baby, which I think those were released on the 40th anniversary version, as well as Crawling King Snake and all that good stuff. Just, it's all here in this box set. I absolutely love the design of it. Looks like an old tape box, even down to the spine, which is a beautiful touch. And this is a RSD exclusive release, limited to 11,000 copies. And as you can see right there, I have copy number 5,743. Opens up just like this, and we have an insert here, which has some liner notes by Bruce Botnick, who was the producer as well as engineer for this album. He had engineered all of the Doors albums all throughout, you know, the 60s going into the 70s. And then when Paul Rothchild opted out, he went ahead and became the producer. And then we have track list and credits here. And then each record comes with its own sort of printed inner sleeve here, which I will showcase. So we have various photos taken from the recording sessions at the Doors workshop, which was their rehearsal space where they opted to record the album. And we have the same band photograph featured on this opposite side here. I'm going to showcase all of the printed inners first before I showcase the vinyl. And then here is the other one. And I'm going to showcase just one of the records because it's pretty much the same across the board. Pressed on black vinyl with nice kind of tape spool type center labels, which is a very nice touch indeed. So very happy to kind of dig into the inner workings of this fantastic Doors album here. And moving onward, we have another band that always gets a Record Store Day treatment, and that is the Rolling Stones. More hot rocks, big hits, and phased cookies. This compilation came out back in 1972-ish, I want to say. And this basically acts as a companion piece to the Hot Rocks compilation, which I think, in terms of the early Stone stuff, it is the quintessential compilation. But this right here digs into some more kind of deep cut territory. There's some things on here such as Out of Time, which is one of my favorite Stone songs. Have You Seen Your Mother, Baby Standing in the Shadow? Dandelion, She's a Rainbow, 2,000 Light Years from Home, Let It Bleed. There's even some early stuff in here such as Come On, Not Fade Away. So it just kind of covers whatever stuff was, I guess, kind of missed from Hot Rocks. Not exactly missed, but it digs into deeper territory. So between that and this compilation, you are off to the races. Now, this is a lovely reissue here, which is limited to 7,200 copies, Record Store Day exclusive pressing. Comes with a sort of holographic obi strip here, which comes off like this. And we have all the artwork faithfully replicated, including the gatefold sleeve. And inside, we do have two individual art prints. We have an art print here, which was used for the UK Off With Their Heads, or Off With Our Heads release, or in the US it was December's Children. They use that image here, which is a nice print. Printed inner sleeve here. And the vinyl itself comes pressed on glow-in-the-dark vinyl with that blue London Records blue label. And the glow-in-the-dark effect really works in once you expose it in light, and then you kind of dim the lights, and the effect really shines through. So I'll have to kind of give it a shot for myself, because I do have a couple of glow-in-the-dark pressings that I really try hard to kind of try to pull off, but never quite works for some reason. And then we have another insert here with more band photographs and another printed inner sleeve here. And here is the vinyl for that as well. So overall, very solid, and just excited to dig into some early Stones territory. And moving onward, we have Alice Cooper, Brutal Planet. This was Alice's sort of first foray into the industrial metal type of genre. He kind of tapped into that briefly in the early 2000s, and I always found it quite intriguing. But also, I think Alice pulled it off, just given, you know, his sort of vocal delivery style and the subjects that he kind of delves into with his work. It's a recipe that really works well with a genre that was really booming in the early 2000s. And this reissue here is a Record Store Day first release, which does indicate that there is more than likely going to be a standard pressing to come in the future. This right here is limited to 5,000 copies. This was put out by E1 Entertainment, and I think this is perfect, riding off the coattails of the Dragontown reissue that came out some time ago for Record Store Day. So they went ahead and followed suit with the first industrial metal Alice Cooper album that he did, and comes with a gatefold sleeve, which is kind of more or less the CD booklet, but made big, since the kind of lyric text is kind of small. But it is all featured here. And the vinyl itself comes pressed on this sort of, I guess you could say, clear vinyl with black smoke. The effect really kicks in with this colored vinyl. It looks absolutely phenomenal. And just for the hell of it, I will showcase the other one as well. And here we go. So this one kind of overall has more of a goldish kind of hue. It might come across as well in the first LP that I showcased. So it's almost like translucent gold vinyl with sort of black swirl. It's kind of hard to catch it in this sort of angle, but if you hold it up to the light, it really kicks in well. And also, I should mention that this is also cut at 45 RPM, since it is indeed a double LP. So it is cool to see this album be given this sort of treatment. So very happy to have it in my collection. And plus, this is an Alice Cooper album that I've been simply excited to dig into for some time. So finally in the collection. And keeping it in the traditional kind of heavy metal vein, we have some new wave of British heavy metal here with Judas Priest, Hero Hero. This is a compilation that focuses on the first two Judas Priest albums that basically E1 Entertainment tends to really focus on reissuing, since they've done reissues of Rock-A-Rolla as well as Sad Wings of Destiny, and those are the two albums that are featured prominently in this compilation. So there's tracks such as, you know, the title track of Rock-A-Rolla, Victim of Changes, fantastic highlight, Deceiver, Diamonds and Rust, Genocide, Cheater. If you're into those first two Priest albums, then you will absolutely love this compilation. And just like they did with the Sad Wings of Destiny reissue, this kind of features a sort of glossy, embossed type cover, which you can see right there. And it's kind of designed the same way as the Sad Wings of Destiny, as well as the Rock-A-Rolla reissue. Gatefold jacket, which features some band portraits as well as various liner notes. And the first LP comes pressed on red vinyl. And then the second LP comes pressed on blue vinyl, which is quite nice. It's a nice contrast between the color scheme of the artwork. We have the overall kind of reddish orange sort of hue, and then the blue kind of overtones. So the colored vinyl choices do make sense for this release, and very excited to dig into some early Priest with this Record Store Day release. And I also should say that this is also a Record Store Day first release, and it is limited to 4,700 copies. And now we shift entirely genre-wise to something a bit more mellow, and that is Joni Mitchell Blue Highlights. I have fallen down a Joni Mitchell rabbit hole recently. I picked up the Reprise albums box set, and I've been digging into her early work, and I absolutely adore it. And this right here is the follow-up release to another one that came out last Record Store Day for her early sort of work between like 63 to 67, I want to say. And that focused on like the early years sort of box set that the Joni Mitchell estate had put out. But this right here focuses on the period that the Reprise albums box set focuses on, which is 68 to 71. Features various recordings and BBC sessions, live material, demos, and whatnot. But in this time around, this compilation focuses solely on the sort of Blue era of Joni Mitchell, since Blue is one of her most celebrated records. And it features some demo sessions, some various session outtakes, as well as a BBC in-concert radio broadcast, which is very nice. Nice tip-on style jacket, nice sort of glossy finish and some of the more intricate details. And here is the back cover. This is a Record Store Day exclusive release, limited to 9,000 copies. And I'll show you guys the custom label here. So we have the entire track list on this side, and then we have a nice sort of, I guess you could say it's a bit of an outtake from the Blue sort of cover sessions on the flip side. So this is absolutely very, very nice. And like I said, last Record Store Day, they did a sort of highlights release for the first box set that her estate had put out, which focuses on everything predating her first album. And I do have that in my collection, so very nice to have this add-on type of release. And I basically should say that from this point on, this resembles some of the more, I guess, unpredictable aspects of Record Store Day that I did not see myself picking up initially. So from this point on, we kind of get into some more interesting territory. So starting off with the Joni Mitchell, and moving onwards with Lou Reed. I'm So Free, the 1971 RCA demos. One of the bands that I've been diving deeper into from the tail end of last year going into this year is indeed the Velvet Underground. And also I've begun to appreciate Lou Reed's solo work more. And this was right at the cusp of when the Velvet Underground had broken up. And Lou Reed went on to do his own solo career with albums like Transformer, Berlin, and a few others. And I figured that I would dig into this album since it very much brings together tracks from those records. Perfect Day is on here, which is one of my favorites. I'm So Free, Lisa Says, I Love You, She's My Best Friend, Kill Your Sons. Features a lot of early Lou work here. And the record comes with a printed inner sleeve with various liner notes by David Frick of Rolling Stone magazine. Features a cool photo of Lou, Nipper, and Richard Robinson. And then on the flip side here, we also have some scans of the original tape box, which had the demos on them. So that is a cool touch indeed. And then the vinyl itself comes pressed on black vinyl with the standard sort of orange RCA label that perhaps all of you may recognize from Lou Reed records or even Bowie records, since he was on RCA. And this is a Record Store Day exclusive release, limited to 7,550 copies. So this was kind of an impulsive type release, which I was very happy to get my hands on. Now going in a more kind of 60s direction with Dana Giuseppe, Foolish Seasons. Dana Giuseppe had released this album back around 1968-69. Very much in the vein of Baroque pop, folk, and just, great sort of British pop from the late 60s. And of course, if you're a David Bowie fan, she has kind of rubbed shoulders with him in regards to being signed with, RCA, Tony DeFries, her covering Andy Warhol, which is on his Hunky Dory album. So there's a little bit of a slight Bowie connection with this artist that made me want to check out this album. But also I was intrigued with the cover, and then also when I read into the sort of backstory behind this record, I was very intrigued to check it out for myself upon a fresh sort of blind listen. So I'm excited to dig into this. This was Dana's first record, has never been reissued before, so this is indeed a first-time release. This is also a Record Store Day first release, which indicates that there will be a standard pressing to come, and this pressing is limited to 3,000 copies. We have a nice gatefold jacket here with new liner notes by Dana herself, along with a cool period photo on the other side. Comes in a sort of stock Decca inner sleeve. Then I'll also showcase the vinyl itself, which comes on the blue Decca label right there. So, very solid release to have, and like I said, kind of one that I sort of got on impulse and very excited to dig into. Moving onward, we have something kind of Rush related, and that is Charlie Benante and Friends Moving Pictures. Charlie Benante is the drummer of Anthrax, and he brought some of his friends together to do some covers of Rush songs. So this EP features Subdivisions, Red Barchetta, Free Will, La Villa Strangiato, and YYZ. So I figured just down to the Rush connection, I would definitely check this out. But also, I did check out the covers prior to purchasing this, and I figured that, you know, it sounded pretty solid in my ears when it came to Rush covers being done right. So I thought to myself, you know what? Might as well go for it. So I was very happy to kind of get this cool, unique piece. This is a Record Store Day exclusive pressing, limited to 1,500 copies. And this comes pressed on blue vinyl with white splatter, which is absolutely eye-catching and very cool. And moving onward, we have an interesting twist to the innovators of heavy metal, and that is Jazz Sabbath Volume 2. Now, Jazz Sabbath is the side project of Adam Wakeman, who is son of Yes keyboardist Rick Wakeman, and of course Rick has played with Bowie and such. He's also played with Ozzy solo as well. He does this side project where he does jazz renderings of Black Sabbath songs. He's done one album already, which I do have in my collection, and this is the newest one that has been offered. On this one, he does versions of Paranoid, Snowblind, Behind the Wall of Sleep, Sabracadabra, Symptom of the Universe, NIB, and Black Sabbath. This album has been released in a more standard fashion as a regular release, but what makes this Record Store Day exclusive pressing unique is the fact that this is indeed a mono mix. There's also a bonus track, which is the track Orchid, and it also comes with a DVD as well, and this is also limited to 4,000 copies. And just to showcase everything, here is the sleeve that brings together the DVD, the bonus DVD, I should say. And this comes on sort of hazy white colored vinyl, which is very, very cool indeed. And now we reach the end of the haul with one more piece, and I swear you guys are all going to laugh when you see what I'm going to be showcasing. I'm sure I've mentioned this artist once before in one of my videos. I do have a lot of thoughts and opinions on this artist in terms of the many great things that I could commend him for, but to the general public, this is probably not a cool release to own, but this was out of impulse, so I thought to myself, you know what, let me give it a chance. Get your laughs in, guys. Tiny Tim with Brave Combo Girl. Now, this right here was Tiny Tim's last album before he passed away. This came out back in 1996. This features various Beatles covers. He does a version of Girl, as well as Hey Jude. He does versions of Stairway to Heaven, Springtime in the Rockies, I Believe in Tomorrow, just standard covers. But what's great with this Record Store Day pressing, which is an RSD first release, so there is going to be a standard press to come in the future, limited to 900 copies. This has a bonus LP of various outtakes and bonus versions of songs. So he does a version of Obla Di Obla Da by the Beatles, also does 14, Hey Jude, another version of Stairway to Heaven, New York, New York by Frank Sinatra. So it's all featured here. Say what you want about Tiny Tim, but he is an artist that I think deserves much more recognition than people give him. He was hands down a musical historian, but maybe I'll save all my thoughts for a future video down the road. But gatefold opens up just like this, and there is the man himself. And I was very impressed with the artwork in this particular Record Store Day release. Because it does feature a booklet which features a bunch of liner notes and photos, And I do have to say, the life and story of Tiny Tim is a rather interesting one, just in terms of when he had his first, real kind of commercial breakthrough in 1968, and how nothing really came out of it in the future. So it's kind of interesting to see where his career kind of led from that period on. And also, this was the last album that Tiny had did before he passed away. So it's historical in some senses. Now, the main LP itself comes pressed on pink vinyl here, which is very nice. And it's pretty much the same across the board, but I will showcase the other LP. And here is the second LP, which has all the bonus tracks. And this comes on pink vinyl as well, with nice custom center labels as well. Whew! So that right there is my Record Store Day 2022 vinyl haul. As you can tell, featured a lot of stuff that I'm sure most of you would suspect me picking up, but I also took some left turns and picked up some more interesting, more unique stuff that I wouldn't have maybe seen myself picking up years prior in other Record Store Days past. So I have a lot of listening to do, and I'm very excited to dig deep into it. But here is my question for you guys. What Record Store Day titles did you pick up this year? Please drop a comment down below. I would love to know. I should also mention as well that there is also going to be another Record Store Day coming in June. There was a bunch of titles that were allotted for the June date, as well as titles that were supposed to come out in April, but got pushed to June. It's safe to say that the large bulk of what I wanted came out on this April date that I'm dropping this video, so I will not be doing a Record Store Day video for June. I will just instead showcase those records that I get from the June kind of drop date in my June monthly vinyl haul, so stay tuned for that. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and if you want to support this channel, be sure to check me out on Patreon. See you guys in the next video, and most importantly, keep the records spinning.